Okay, so this is video 7.4, and it is all about translating and solving equations. We are still solving equations, but this time we need to translate them. So that means I need to remember that math is a language, and we can always write things in that math language. Notice that there's a mild and a medium again, and each are 2 pages. So you may want to write that down. Because of the words involved, they take up more space. So make sure you do both pages, whichever one you choose. All right, if we recall back to Unit 5, we did an activity like this, where we were translating words to math. For example, if we had the word sum, we would think of that as addition. Or total. If we saw the word total, we would also think of that as an addition problem. We could go through all of these words and remember which operation is which. But I'm going to let you do that. So if you don't have your Unit 5 packet anymore, you can just take a look on this screen. I will also put up a copy of this PDF on my website so that you could reference it. One of the additions that I made that I didn't notice on our notes before is that multiplication could be per or each, but notice also division could be per or each. So you have to be very careful about which one the question is asking you for. And also note these turnaround words. So more than, less than, subtracted from, those are all turnaround words that mean that you have to flip them around. So 5 subtracted from y is y minus 5. Or 5 less than y is y minus 5. Be very careful of those words. All right, so looking at the homework, this is just the mild. We're going to start with looking at the directions. Write and solve each equation for each situation. Show each step in your solution and check your work. I've been noticing people not checking their answers. I get that it's an extra step, but it's very necessary. So please make sure you do that extra step. All right, let's use purple. So we're going to look at this paragraph and point out the words that are important, the words that we looked at on the translation sheet on the last slide. Also, we're going to look for variables, okay? The other thing we're going to look for is numbers. So right off the bat, we have Ashley has X vases and wants to put a dozen flowers in each. A dozen doesn't look like a number maybe, but remember that word means 12. Okay, all together, she will use 84 flowers. How many vases does she have? Also note the question. You always want to be looking at what does the question ask? And the question can be very helpful with this next part, which is defining your variable. You need to decide what is the thing that we are trying to find. And in this case, it's vases. It's the number of vases. In each problem, you need to tell me what each variable is, the letter that you want to choose, and what it means. So in this case, the letter they already gave you is X, and please use a colon and then say what it means. So it means the number of vases. That's the thing that's missing that we don't know. When you write an equation, you have to have a variable in this section. And you need to also find the solution for it. Okay, so here goes. We are going to translate this now into an equation. I'm thinking I've got the word each and 12 and X vases. So I need to put those together. Well, if I did X divided by 12, that would mean I'd take the number of vases and make the number smaller, which might give me a fraction. So that doesn't work. Instead, think of it like 12 are in each, so I'm multiplying 12 times X. Now I know it says all together. That should signify to you that it's going to have an equal sign and that the answer is coming up, 84. Now I've got my equation. I look at it and see that it makes sense. Does 12x equal 84 make sense? Well, I think so. If I take the number of vases and multiply by 12, then it would equal 84. So now I'm going to solve. All right, remember multiplication. To undo, you have to divide, and I'd like you to use a fraction bar. And I'm dividing both sides by that 12 so that it cancels out. Divide by 12. Then I'm just left with x equals, and then I need to know 84 divided by 12. I can use a calculator or I can long divide. The answer is 7. To check, you need to go back and make sure that it makes sense. If I do 12 times 7, again, I'm just going back to this equation I wrote, does it equal 84? And you could even put a question mark here to ask yourself that. And if I multiply it out, 12 times 7, yes, it equals 84, so I write a check mark. I would also like you to write your final answer, 7 vases, in this box. And you can box up your final answer. That makes sense. All right, let's look at the next one. Again, you're looking for numbers and you're looking for a variable. You're also looking for words that mean an operation. So lost, that might mean an operation. How many golf balls were lost? And golf balls is the thing we're asking about. So that is going to be our variable. So I write number of golf balls. I need a letter. You can't use 2 letters, only 1. So I'm going to pick G and write a colon. That is my definition of my variable. My variable is G. I need to make sure that's going to be in my equation. And I need to also make sure I have an equal sign to have it be an equation. All right, so Kyle had 62 golf balls, but lost some. So I had 62, but then I lost some. Remember, that means subtract. He has 58 remaining, equals 58. Once you have your equation, you can go ahead and solve it. Don't forget that when you solve it, you don't want to leave it 62 minus G. We do stay, change, change instead so that the variable term goes first. So it's a negative G plus 62 equals 58. Again, if you ever feel like this is going too fast, stop and rewind and listen to it again. You can also ask me questions about it in class, and please be persistent. Make sure you get your question answered. So undo by subtracting 62. Make sure you pay attention to the fact that that's a bigger number, so the answer has to be negative. And 62 minus 58 is 4. But look, I have the opposite of G that equals negative 4. So that means if I divide by negative 1, because this is like a negative 1, or if I just think of the opposite sign, it makes sense that G would be 4. Don't forget to label your answer, golf balls, and you need to check to make sure that it makes sense. Check it by plugging it back in. 62 minus 4 equals 58. Again, some of you may be thinking, this is way easier than what you're making it out to be. And I get that. It does, in this particular problem, seem easier just to subtract in your head. However, it's important that you understand how to write an equation and solve it, because when we get to more difficult problems, it will be easier to use the equation. All right, so please continue. Don't get freaked out just because of fractions. You get to use a calculator, and we did a whole unit on fractions. If I look ahead for these problems, again, I'm always going to be defining my variable. There should only be 1 letter, and make sure you pay attention to even words that really mean numbers. If you have questions, please come and talk to me about this tomorrow.